Okay, that's top of the hour by my watch. Welcome everybody, and thank you for joining this getKambium webinar. It's great to have so many people joining us today to find out how our guest Heather Todd from Yorb is changing her MSP's relationship with their clients and how that's working out. And Heather, thank you so much for joining us today to share your story and to share a little bit about your MSP. Can I ask you to start off by saying hi and describing Yorb?
Hi, well, my name's Heather Todd and I'm the Innovation Lead and also Strategic Consultant for Yorb. So we're a New Zealand-based company and we've got 4 branches across the North and South Island, with the main one in Palmerston North. So we aim for the regional business, not the main cities. We've got over 50 staff that are spread around, and overall we've got, I think, about 120 MSA clients plus a whole pile of non-MSA clients, and I think about 2,500 seats. So yeah, our key focus is working in the regions and helping out as much as possible outside those main centres.
So Heather, if you had to describe your clients, either by the size of organisation or by the sector they work in, I mean, we know that they're regional, and a number of the MSPs I've noticed in our ecosystem come from a range of towns, large and small. There'll be many that are similar to where you're based. What sort of clients do you work with?
So we work a lot with manufacturing, transport, construction, some education, but not so much. Some of the iwi organisations that are quite broad ranging. And yeah, we pick and choose from any of the industries really, but those are our key ones of just focusing on that manufacturing and construction and transport, things like that. So we try and keep a breadth of things. We've got quite a few professional clients as well in the accounting space or the law firms, but we're quite flexible. So we just cover whoever needs really. Some of them are up to 300-400 seats and some of them are just 5. So we try and balance out how many large ones we have with how many small, so that we can keep everyone covered and supported along the way.
There's an incredibly diverse client base, and it's spread across, as you said, 4 centres, which makes it really difficult for you to try and maintain a consistent customer experience because there's so many different customers, and each centre is going to have its own culture. Your title was Innovation Lead. That really, my ears pricked up at that. What does Innovation Lead mean? It's a great title.
Oh yeah, it's great. So I manage the team of consultants and I work for the tech director. So my role is a balance between leading the consultants and helping them with the processes and what we put in place. So that's included implementing things like getKambium and figuring out a consistent way to deliver things like what we call our CO1s, our digital roadmaps, strategic roadmaps. So trying to do that higher level, making sure our clients have a direction, have a focus, have an understanding of what we deliver them. And then it feeds down to the tech teams from there. So innovation is a moving target because it could be that we've got new clients in different areas and they're looking for some leading edge technology. So it's getting the right guys to go out and figure out what's the latest law firm system or how can we implement AI or whatever it might be. And then with my other hat at strategic consulting of just going out and working with some of our clients to get the best understanding of what they might need. So I think innovation means it will change on a daily basis.
I've just realised as we're going, I didn't mention that we've got the chat open. So if folk do have any questions that they'd like to ask, I think there's a Q&A chat section as part of Teams, and we'd certainly love to pick up on any of those as we're going through. Within those clients, Heather, a few years ago, I'm guessing they would have all been Microsoft Small Business Server. You'd have been deploying, I don't know, I guess financial systems and so forth, terminal servers and the like. How have things changed over the last, sort of 5-10 years in terms of what your clients need?
It's changed quite a bit. Most of it's gone to the cloud and the direction of the cloud. So where our guys used to be specialists in building hardware, servers, figuring out what best suited a client in that way, it feels like they've become well, they've had to upskill more in the Microsoft suite, like what's in the cloud, what's in Azure, how does licensing work? So it's been quite a step change in that sense of rather than trying to figure out which hardware to plug in and how best to set them up in a secure way on site. It's now how to figure out the best way to set them up in the cloud. And in New Zealand, we've got the quirk of some of our businesses don't want their data stored offshore. So we've got to make sure it's either, well, it meets New Zealand data laws. So it's either in New Zealand or maybe in Australia and not in a data centre too far away. That's actually quite more difficult than we'd hope it could be sometimes. But when it comes to the health sector, or some of the ones that partner with government organisations, it's something we need to factor in. And New Zealand's, we're not developed a lot in that space yet, so we've got to try and figure out how to work within those limitations.
Right. So understanding customers' needs for data sovereignty is key.
Yeah.
Are you seeing customers? So in days gone by, you had to go out there and install small, mail servers and show people an exchange and the like. And today, of course, it's all in the cloud. How are people using technology? So your innovation lead. How are you seeing your clients use technology differently today than they did before? You've got a broader tool set. And how will they use? How's your MSP unpacking that for your clients?
Yeah, so the way we do this is we try and understand the business first. So it used to be pretty much that they bought a technology and then it fitted into how they worked, or they worked around the technology to best suit them. Now we're kind of switching it over. So we're going business-led technology. So what we do is we work with a client to understand how they work and what they need and what they might need. So if they've headed for remote workers after COVID, also in our regions, we've had a couple of disasters recently with massive flooding in one of our key regions. So we had to figure out how to get everybody up and running remotely, with some of their servers were underwater. So we're focusing a lot more on the remote working. How can you guys keep going if COVID lockdown happens again, if there's a disaster in the region? How do you keep being productive using the suite of tools you've got? How can you access them? How can your business keep working? So we've found that they're looking at the technologies to kind of support their business and work smarter, work better, work remotely, be more flexible. It's kind of the changing industry at the moment.
Right. Are you seeing any change in the buyers? So are you still talking to the same technology buyer, or is that broadening out inside the clients?
It's definitely broadening out. Like there's a lot more people in the market. There's a lot more people in the companies that we work with that are looking at different options. So they'll go out themselves and look at different options on the market and come back to us so that we go to whoever they prefer as well.
I saw a Canalys presentation recently that suggested that buyers of technology weren't the traditional CTO or CIO anymore, but it was now more likely to be a business leader, a HR officer, a logistics manager, production manager, those kinds of roles.
Yeah.
Is that something you're experiencing?
Definitely. Most of our clients aren't, I mean, some of our clients are large enough to have an IT manager, of course, but they don't have a CIO type role. So that's sometimes what I step in to do, of guide them up the CIO role of how to talk to their boards, how to get their boards to understand why they need to invest. But in many cases, it's often like the management accountant or the person in charge of finance or just the owner of the company. And they're trying to juggle the technology, which is such a moving target. And even we need to step up and keep ahead of the game. So for them to have a second hat on top of their day job is quite a challenge. But yeah, more often than not, it seems to be the management accountant or someone in that space, which I find quite interesting. Like, it is money, it is a huge investment in IT, so maybe it sits there, but the skill set and the thinking can be quite different, and it's a lot to add to someone who's already got a very busy role.
So you talked about, and you had a comment earlier on that having a business conversation with the clients, and of course your techs, that they want to go in there and say, hey, your tech's going to say, hey, that's the old model, you should have a new one. Yep. That particular thing is too small, get a bigger one. This one's got a higher rating of such and such. How are you helping your techs to have those business conversations with your clients? Can you talk me through how client conversation works today?
So in a lot of instances, we use our senior techs to do it in the first instance, or we double team and we coach them in it. But we like our guys to have the business conversation first. So what are you doing? We're actually taking it up a level. So all our clients, we try and understand what their business strategy is, where they're heading, where they want to go, how they plan to get there, and understanding their values as well. So we're big fans of like the Simon Sinek why. So we want to understand the why of the companies we work with. Because then we're not just selling them a product, we're actually trying to be their partner, go along with them. And it means when the tech guys do go in there and say, you need to upgrade this to this, they're more likely to have that trust relationship in place. So what we do is we take the guys along on the journey. So we help them understand the business that we're working with and understand why the client might be interested in something. And then when they're looking at the technology to replace it, hopefully they're focusing on the why behind it. So they're not just saying this is a better product. They know that, well, the client's heading in this direction in the future. They are going to be moving off the service. They're heading to the cloud. We actually want to sell them something to tide them over for a couple of years because we know where they're heading, we know what direction, we know they're moving to some ERP system, or we know that they're looking to sell their company in a few years' time, so we're not going to try and upsell them now because it's not the best investment for them. So it's just reminding guys to go back to that.
That's not a natural conversation for senior tech to have. The natural conversation is, as I say, it is there's a better license for that. There's a newer model. How have your team taken to having this business conversation rather than the technical one?
Some guys struggle with it, but we've actually gone back to it internally of our company values. So what's important to us, how we behave. So we want our clients to use us as their tech, as their strategic partner, not just as their tech partner. And we want to do what's best for the client. So sometimes it is having the chat with the techs and going, is this best for the client? So it's not about Yorb, it's not about selling something. Is it best for the client? Will it build that trust relationship? Will it help support us moving forward? So often it's just a reset there. And then we just offered it to, if it's a new piece of hardware they're looking for, or the tech struggling in that space, they sing out to someone like me and I just sit in on a meeting and have a chat around, oh yeah, but why are you looking for this? Like, what do you hope to achieve by it? Because it's also reminding them that buying technology is easy, huge investment, but easy. But unless you've got the focus on why and you've implemented it correctly, you're not actually going to get the value from it. So the money could be wasted. So business change behavior is really important.
So how do your clients, I mean, it's a different experience for your clients. Your clients are seeing you not come in and reset passwords and move printers around and replace PCs. They're seeing you have a different conversation. When you're competing in those four regional locations that you've got, how are your clients experience that? What feedback do you get from your customers?
We get a lot of positive feedback on that we go out with them and we want to partner with them. So when we bring on board new clients or we're looking at a new project, we don't go out with the, what do you need? What did your last provider give you? We go out with like business discovery questions of where are you heading? What do you hope to achieve? And then how can we support you in that? Because if our values and vision aren't aligned with theirs, then we are going to be that IT support company. We are just going to be the one that they call to reset passwords and stuff. And while that's great, and we have clients like that because that's what they need from us, it's not what we're targeting. It's not what we want from our clients. We want to be able to develop that relationship and help them actually up their trajectory, not just reset everything.
So do you survey your clients in terms of, say, NPS or client satisfaction, or do you get feedback or reviews? What do they say about you now?
They say that they appreciate the guys understand them because we've split our teams that they have their own client base, and that includes our support centre, our call centre are tagged to our squads so that the support centre know this is my set of clients. Of course, sometimes the calls go other directions because they're busy, but it's likely the person answering the phone knows that client. They understand how things are set up. They understand who to talk to if you need security approval. It's not just going through the FAQs or the wiki in the system. It's actually like, oh, I've spoken to you before. I know you. This is what happened last time. So the feedback we get from clients is they actually appreciate the fact that they call and they're known and they feel actually valued.
And do you see any positive metrics coming through for the MSP? So there might be, for example, spend per client, or you might be getting more referrals for new clients, less churn. What sort of metric? How's that improving your business? What's your accountant saying to you?
So definitely less churn involved. They are recommending us to other clients. So we've got a nice stack of new business that we're going out and meeting people and having those conversations with them and making sure that we are people that can help them. We're not losing too many clients, and that's really, really good. And if we are, it's understandable. These things happen. We get a lot of learning from when we do lose clients. Hopefully less and less, but it happens.
There's always M&A, I guess, and you can't do much about that in your clients. And then occasionally you get a client who comes in, standing client's got your regular point of contact now a different person. They come from somewhere else. They've got their favourite MSP.
Yeah.
And I guess the test is whether or not your approach is able to win that person over and help you to retain the relationship when those key roles change.
Yeah.
Okay, so Heather, the big question that I've got for you is how the hell do you do that? So most MSPs want to go and talk tech. You're having a business conversation. You're scaling that out across 4 locations. How are you doing that?
So this is where we actually use getKambium for it, and we've got different things set up based on the clients. Because our ideal setup is that we have a 90-day plan with our clients. So someone like me at a strategic level goes in and works with them. We capture all that data and getKambium along the lines of our business discovery questions at a strategic level. So where they're going, what are they hoping to achieve, massive projects that are underway, their key issues, all of this. So depending on their size, we give them a few hours a week and I work alongside them. I might sit in their office and do it. I might just meet them regularly online or sit in on a board meeting. And it helps us with that base understanding of where they're going, what they hope to achieve, and how we can best support them. And then it hands to some of our senior tech guys alongside me to build up a digital strategy. So again, all the data goes into getKambium. We go through a number of questions, some of the system questions, some of the ones we've tweaked ourselves to better suit our client base. And at that point, we kind of go 2 directions because, we have clients that are 300 people and this is an investment they can make. We've got clients who are 3, 5, 10 users, and they need the same guidance, but it's not like they can invest that much in it. So we tailor it to suit the client at that point, but we make sure all that data is captured in getKambium so it feeds through to ConnectWise. So we've got our list of opportunities. We know what we're doing. We've got one picture for the consultants in one tool. We've got the rest of the picture for all of our tech guys in the other tool. And then we actually break it down from there. We sit down with the client and say, this is what we understand is going on in your lives. This is where we think you could invest in and what you might hope to achieve. In some areas, that's Yorb that can help you with this. In some areas, it's not. You need to build a data warehouse. That's a great idea. I'll give you some advice, but I don't think I should be building that for you. Let me point you in a smart direction.
So you're using getKambium as the framework to uncover the customer's strategy, to find out what they need. You're building what getKambium calls a roadmap and what you call a digital strategy. And in that digital strategy, some of the things are within your skill set of your MSP and some are outside of it. But I guess you've identified what they are and you're acting as the concierge to the client to help them to procure those services if they're not ones that you do yourself.
Yeah. And that's where we don't want to just manage the stuff we know that we do. We actually want to have that bigger picture. And we found that capturing that in getKambium gives us that bigger picture. It means when we do the quarterly check-ins, we know how they're progressing on their other projects. We can actually help them out if they need a bit of project management or sometimes they just need someone to sit in the meeting and help them explain their requirements to the other provider until they get some confidence in them. And if we've got that trust relationship already, it means they might ask us to just join them for those meetings.
Because you've changed your relationship, now you're not just a supplier. We talk about as MSPs, we talk about being a partner. And what you're doing is you're really making that much more evident and much more concrete.
Yeah. And it helps because, I also talk to the people in the process sides of things. So I'm quite hot on the fact that technology, you can plug it in, but you don't always get the benefit from it. So when we're looking at that roadmap, that strategy, we can talk them through, if you've got these great ideas and you might have the money to invest right now, it's probably not a good idea to implement like 7 different things at one time, because your people are not going to be able to handle the change. Like, yes, you've got rid of your server, you've moved to everything to the cloud, you're implementing SharePoint. You think data governance is a great idea, and at the same time, you're going to, I don't know, buy a new ERP. Don't do this. Like, you need to split this out over time in a logical way. Otherwise, you're going to break your team, or people can't handle that amount of change. So we also try and advise them on how to spread the amount of change they do to get the most benefit from it. And it allows us to capture that. getKambium's handy in that sense of we might not be providing the services, but we can keep track of them and we can see the portfolio of work that their clients got underway.
So you've really got that awareness of what's going on, and you're able to actually sit as the tech expert on the client side of the desk and help them engage with any vendors that aren't Yorb, where that's appropriate.
Yeah. It also gives the tech guys a heads up that if they get a call to say, I don't know, I can't access my folders right now, what the hell happened? There might be 3 other projects happening over here. So just make sure what might have happened over the past few weeks.
Right, gives you that sense of that sense of the customer's priorities.
Yeah.
So within that, you mentioned the quarterly check-ins, the QBRs, and obviously getKambium's got a QBR a module to it. When you go to a QBR, what's the emphasis in there? Are you talking about your tickets and your SLAs? Are you talking about the road? What's the customer expect from those check-ins?
Yeah, so we actually do 2 different types of check-ins. We've got one that our client managers do outside of this, which is check-in on agreements, tickets, general health products that they might want to look at in the future. And then we've got the quarterly check-in that the tech guys do, and sometimes they're combined depending on the client. And sometimes they're separate, because sometimes our tech guys are working with different people in the company to our client managers. So what we focus on in the conversation with the tech guys is, how are your projects going? Like, we started with this plan at the start of the year. How's it going? Any new issues arisen? Has the business taken a different direction? What do we need to be aware of to keep this on track, or to reset it and adjust it at this point? Like, if you're struggling with finances, it hasn't been such a great year for them, they don't want to invest this anymore, we can adjust, we can make some recommendations of, sweet, if I was you, I'd keep investing here. All of this we can move out. It's okay, we can deal with that later, we can keep you going. Whereas with that client manager side of things, it might be more around, here's your tickets, here's the SLAs we're hitting, here's the products, and we've got something called Yorb Critical 8, which is aiming for the security, your baseline of security. Do you have DMARC, DKIM? Do you have a phishing campaign, a training campaign? Do you have an endpoint detection system set up? So those basics, they might just remind clients of the Critical 8 for a reason. You could probably think about a few of these things. But we try and focus the quarterly check-in from our tech team as, it's almost not a sales conversation, it's a check-in. How are you feeling? How are you progressing? How are we going? What can we adjust?
Right. So you've got the so that QBR really is a question of saying, this is how we're progressing on that strategy, on that roadmap that we've agreed. Do you find the clients value that? Are they happy to invest the time? I know some MSPs sort of, if you look at, we're in the Kinkwise ecosystem, and service leadership say the most successful MSPs are the ones that do their QBRs like clockwork. But then I know when I talk to MSPs, they say, well, it's really hard to get the customer to agree to set the time aside.
Yep.
How does that work for you guys?
It's kind of hit and miss. Like with some of our clients, they really see the value. Some of them that are in a place where they're not investing a lot, or they're struggling at that time, they try and push it out. It's not they're trying to avoid it, they just don't see the value in it. So we do it in a more casual way. If it happens to be an email check-in of, here's what we see, here's what we'd really love to discuss with you. If need be, we do spell that out in an email with an attached document. More often than not, the client will then ring us and have a check-in, and that's fine. We can do it in the time frame. Otherwise, we do try and book them in. Whenever we say deliver a roadmap for the strategy, we try and book in the next check-in then and there before we leave. It's less likely they'll avoid it then. Not always, but less likely.
Well, the goal is that they value it, and if you're talking about stuff that they care about, then they're going to want to spend time with you, and that's going to come
Yeah.
back to, I guess, asking the questions of their business to understand what's important to them. Do you find any particular questions more effective to uncover their needs than others? Are there sort of favorite questions that you've got that unpack more of their strategy?
Usually it's around asking them where their pain points are, like asking them what annoyed them the most last month, when did they feel most frustrated with the computer or the technology, how often do they end up, I don't know, downloading something to upload it somewhere else. So asking a few of those things around when you're working with your computer and the technology, what are the things that annoy you? What are the things that you feel there's too many steps in the process? And sometimes you get back, oh, this was really, really slow, this timed out, I hate it that I have to reset my password multiple times, I hate MFA, can't always fix things like that. But when it comes to, well, I download the spreadsheet, and then I upload it over here, and then I re-enter the data over here, it's kind of like, well, have you thought maybe we could make that a bit smarter for you? Let us introduce you to our team that does Power Apps and some data integration and stuff like that. So talking from the business side of thing of what hurts, where do you hear the most noise from your team, helps us kind of identify what we might be able to help with.
And those are opportunities that didn't exist before. Discovering a Power App, Power Automate, Power Flow kind of opportunity is something that's new to MSPs. It's not around fixing mailboxes and so forth. It's around actually automating a business process. In my view, businesses do technology for a combination of just three reasons. They want to do something, a new capability, something they haven't done before. They want new capacity, and capacity includes value for money, or they want to mitigate a risk. And my theory is that if we can uncover the capabilities that they want to add, the capacities that they want to manage, and the risks they want to mitigate, then we've got a much better understanding of their business requirements. Does that gel for you?
Yeah, it definitely does, having that full understanding of what they're going for. And those seem to be the three core reasons. We've also found value in making sure that we wrap around at the end of it, like once we've delivered a new project, a new service, a new piece of technology, making sure you do almost a lessons learned. So you guys went forward with this because you wanted more capacity, you wanted more ability to do something. Have you got that benefit from this? So making sure it's a benefit realization, like what are you seeing? What can we learn from this? You went forward thinking you'd save 10 hours a week. Did you? Have you created that work in somewhere else? So just making sure we completely loop things around and close out a project before we walk away to the next piece of work.
We're coming up to the bottom of the hour. Thank you for joining the getKambium webinar. Heather, you're using getKambium to help you to ask those questions, to make the recommendations, to achieve the roadmaps and strategies for the clients, and then to deliver those business QBRs. What's your experience been like of onboarding with getKambium and working with the getKambium team to do that?
I found it really good. So we've, of course, we had a few teething areas as the guys had to change their behaviour because we're so used to doing things our way, and it turned out that our way was different between each of our consultants. They all had their quirks. So trying to bring that back into line, into one way of working was a change of behaviour. The tool itself supported that, and I think when we were chatting before this meeting, I said I had a quick learning of every time I got feedback from the guys, I tweaked things in the system. So I tweaked the questions, tried to adapt it to the way we work here. It was a pretty quick learning that I now give it 3 months. So when a new piece is rolled out in getKambium, I tell the guys, try it for 3 months, try it the way it is in the tool. It's set up for a reason, so let's test it out, see if we can adapt the way we work to that. And then after 3 months, if you've got a tweak you want to make, if you want me to reword the question, we'll do that, or we'll have a chat to Ian or Michael, who have been amazing, and ask them, how could we do this and getKambium? Is there a way to get what we need out of it this way? But we have found, try something for 3 months, and most of the time it turns out we don't want to adapt it anymore. That's been a good learning.
So what I heard you say in there, which was a bit of gold, was you found people doing things different ways prior to using getKambium. So you got 4 offices. I guess you're trying to give your customers a consistent experience of Yorb. That must have been frustrating. I'm filling in the blanks here, but I'm thinking that getKambium's been the recipe to try and give everybody a consistent way of engaging with clients.
Yeah. Yeah, it has. It's brought things back to that consistency, but it still allows us to adapt to the client size or the client style. So we can output to the different templates. If one of our clients is, say, a more government focused client, then they need different information in the document that we output. Whereas some of our smaller clients don't need that amount of information, and actually it scares them. So we've cut that down to a more simplified version. So there's just enough information to not freak them out, but to let them plan and move forward.
You've got flexibility.
Yeah. So flexibility is good, but consistency is what we want from it and what we've gotten from it.
Look, I'm wondering if there's any questions from any of the attendees that are on this webinar. We've got a couple of minutes if there are any. Alternatively, we might have answered everything that people might have been wondering. And we have been recording this webinar. It would have come up on the screen when you logged in, so we will be posting that video. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any questions come in, so either everyone's fallen asleep while we've been chatting here. I found this really enjoyable. Thank you. But it's been wonderful. We'll share the recording afterwards, and I'm so grateful for your time today. Thank you so much indeed, and I hope you have a fantastic day.
Well, thank you for that. Still awake.
One of the people is at least paying attention. I said you're still awake.
That's good.
All right, Heather, thank you so much. Have a fabulous day, and we will talk to you later on. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. It's been great to have you on our webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.